Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome everyone. We may still have some friends logging on and joining us, but we're going to go ahead and get started for today. So thank you all for joining us today. We're so glad to have you all with us this morning with our Engaging Girls in STEM webinar. To view live closed captions for this program in English and Spanish, please go ahead and click the link that we're going to drop in the chat now. And I just wanted to quickly introduce myself and some of the friends that I have helping me out today. So my name is Cassie, and I work here on the education team at the Brea Tar Pits. Also joining me here today, you may see Noelle over here on camera. And then behind the scenes, I have Agnes and Rachel helping me out in the chat and with some technical stuff today. They're going to be off camera for most of the time, but they will be available in the chat to kind of help answer questions and talk with you guys throughout the webinar. So this might be a little bit of a different format of Zoom than some of the our students are used to. You're not going to see any of your classmates here. You're not going to see your teacher. You're not going to see any other people watching this. Just going to be seeing me and the presentation. Because of this, we wanted to do a little shout out to make sure that we know that all of you are here and tuning in. So we have students from a bunch of different schools around the Los Angeles area. So you may see your school listed here. And if your school isn't listed here, I'm so sorry, but welcome. So I wanted to go through the agenda really quickly. So today we're going to be together for about 45 minutes, and we've got a packed schedule. So we're going to be moving through the day fairly quickly. So to get started, we're going to have a little bit of a trivia to get to know some history of women in STEM and even learn a little bit about some influential women in STEM history. We're going to have a bunch of time to group brainstorm on what it means to do STEM, work in STEM. We're going to explore a bunch of different careers in STEM by meeting some women here at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. We're going to have more brainstorming time to think about how we use STEM skills in our everyday lives, because we use them all the time, probably without even noticing. And then we're going to learn how we could take those skills that we already use and contribute to science that is happening right now. We want to make sure that this webinar is as interactive as possible. Even though we can't see you, we want to make sure that we are hearing from you. So there's going to be a couple of different ways that we can participate today. One way to participate is going to be within the chat. So like I said, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to share thoughts and ask questions. The chat is going to be our tool to make sure that this is a collaborative session. So please do your best to keep the chat focused with what we're talking about in this presentation and to keep language appropriate. If folks aren't able to follow our code of conduct and stay on track and keep it appropriate, unfortunately, we will have to ask you to leave the program. Within the chat, the only people who are going to be able to see it are myself and as well as the other panelists here today. So that's Noelle, Rachel, and Agnes. Teachers, if you are on one shared device and you are able to, it would be wonderful if you can act as the liaison between what your students are saying and us here today, so that we can make sure that we hear from your students as well if they're not all on their own devices. We also have the opportunity to record our ideas. So if you have a piece of paper handy, maybe a pencil, pen, marker, whatever you got, feel free to take notes throughout the session. You could write down any questions that you have, maybe if you learn a new fact, or if you just need to kind of doodle as we go. A journal is going to be a really great place that you can do that. And we, of course, encourage you, if we don't get to your question, to go ahead and continue with your own research after the presentation. So moving right along, that's just an example of what your notebook may look like, right? So you can look at vocabulary words, questions about some, any of the question prompts that we'll be asking. You could write down your answers there as well so you remember them. Before we dive too deeply into today's presentation, I want to go over some vocab so that we all are on the same page here. So today we have just one vocab word, and that is STEM. So maybe some of you have heard this word before, maybe it's a new word for some of y'all. But just as a refresher, STEM is an acronym standing for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And of course, if we're going through the presentation and you hear any other words for the first time that you're not quite sure about and you want it to be defined, you could go ahead and type in the chat, and one of our other friends here helping out with the webinar could hopefully give you an answer on what that word means. All right, so moving along here, what does a job in STEM look like? So today we're going to be talking a lot about careers in STEM. And now that we know what STEM stands for, let's do a little bit of a group brainstorm on what a job in STEM might look like. So our chat is going to be opening up right now. So take a moment to think what a job in STEM might look like. And if you want to go ahead and type your idea in the chat, you can go ahead and do so. So I see Alexis is saying math. Yeah, so somebody working in STEM might have to use math a lot. And Julie's saying NASA, right? So we're thinking of organizations that we know of that do some of these things, right? So NASA, that's a lot of space. Alexis is saying science. Folks are saying math teacher, engineering, technology, writing. Yeah. Teacher, science, math. Hello to everybody who's saying hello. Ooh, Julie says JPL, so the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So now we're thinking about places in the area that we live that might be using STEM. Right, so we've got so many great things flowing in here. I'm seeing a lot of math. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and explore what a job in STEM might look like. But before we do that, we're going to do a little bit of trivia to learn a little bit more history on some influential women in STEM and just some history of STEM in general. So in a moment, you're going to see a poll pop up in front of your screen. So if you are on your own device, you can go ahead and vote for the answer that you think is correct when we're going through these trivia. Like I said, if you're on one shared device and teachers want to help out with selecting the answer, that would be wonderful. You also have the chat as an opportunity to share your answer if you really can't get the poll to work. So we'll go ahead and take a look at our first trivia question of the day. So question number 1, around what percentage of women are researchers worldwide? Do you think it's A, more than 50%, B, less than 30%, or C, more than 75%? So we're just going to give it a quick moment. You can think of your answer, lock in your votes. I see votes are flowing in. And it's okay if y'all are totally just guessing, totally valid. Ooh, we have some folks in the chat saying that they think they're right. Some folks who are just guessing. All right. We'll give you about a 5-second countdown to lock in those votes. So we'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last chance, get those last votes in. Okay, we'll end that poll and let's take a look at the answer. So the answer to question number 1 is less than 30%. So while this number has been steadily increasing, there's still far less women in jobs that involve research in STEM rather than men. So we can go ahead and share these results and see what some of your peers thought, but it looks like most folks were thinking more than 50%. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to question number 2. So question number 2, this is a true or false. So y'all got a 50-50 shot on this one. So the question is, a Tagish First Nation woman by the name of Kate Sarmac played an integral role in discovering gold. Do we think that's true or do we think that's false? Go ahead and take your votes. Like I said, if you're just guessing, go for it. Ooh, I see some folks in the chat are speculating. Some are saying false, some are guessing again. All right. Looks like we've got a pretty good amount of votes in, so we'll give you 5 more seconds. If you want to lock in your answers, we'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last chance to vote. And we'll go ahead and close the poll and take a look at the answer. So if you guessed true, you guessed correctly. So Kate Sarmac played an integral role in discovering gold. She was a part of a party that discovered gold on Rabbit Creek in 1896. This creek was later named Bonanza Creek, and this discovery is what likely kicked off the Klondike Gold Rush. So if we're sharing those results, we can see that the majority of us were feeling like this one was true, and y'all were correct on that one. So now we can go ahead and move on to question number 3. I see some celebration going on in the chat. That's wonderful. So question number 3 reads, in what year did Elizabeth Blackwell become the first woman to graduate with a medical degree? The options are A, in the year 1857. Option B, 1902, or option C, 2001. So what year were we thinking that Elizabeth Blackwell became the first woman to graduate with a medical degree? I see Troy is saying that's a long time ago. It is a bit of a time ago. Let's see. Some people are saying they don't know. We have some other guesses going on in the chat. Some people thinking they have it right. All righty. Let's go ahead and give you all, once again, 5 more seconds to lock in those votes. And like I said, if you have no idea, a guess is totally fine as well. We'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And we'll go ahead and close the poll and take a look at those results. All right, so if you guessed A, 1857, you guessed correctly. So Elizabeth Blackwell was a British physician, and she was notable to be the first woman to receive a medical degree in the United States, and the first woman on the medical register of the General Medical Council. So she had applied to numerous medical colleges and was rejected by all but one. And she went to Geneva Medical College in New York. And at the time, the faculty was assuming that an all-male student body would never agree to letting a woman join them in their ranks. And a lot of them were voting yes to have her come on kind of as a joke. But a few years later, she gained her admittance and she became the first woman to receive a medical degree in America. All right. So we'll move on to the next question, learn more about some really awesome women in STEM. Okay. So question number 4, in what year did Ellen Ocha serve on Space Shuttle Discovery during a 9-day orbit and become the first Hispanic woman to go to space? The poll is now launched, and we have some options. We have option A, 2008. Option B, 1902. Or option 3, 1993. What are we thinking? Ooh, somebody in the chat is saying that they've seen maybe this person's name in a library book before. Yeah. We have some folks guessing in the chat. Votes are flowing in. I'll give you all a few more seconds to think about the answer. Yeah. Someone in the chat saying, at this point, I give up. Don't give up. Guessing is totally fine. I didn't know a lot about some of these women until I was actually doing the research for this. So I was learning right there with you. Okay, we'll give you 5 more seconds, then we'll close the poll. We'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll close the poll and take a look at the answer for today. So if you guessed C, 1993, you guessed correctly. So Dr. Ellen Ocha was actually born right here in Los Angeles. And in 1990, she was chosen to participate in a mission. And in 1993, she served on that mission as a specialist aboard the STS-56 Space Shuttle Discovery, and she became the first Latina to be launched into space. And during this mission, she and other mission specialists performed various experiments that studied the sun and its interaction with the Earth's atmosphere. So very, very cool. And it extra cool that she's a Los Angeles native, so right from our area that we are today. So we'll go ahead and move on to our final trivia question of the day. The results here. Okay, so question number 5. This female marine biologist and environmentalist is credited with awakening the concern of Americans for the environment with her book, Silent Spring, which brought attention to environmental pollution concerns. So basically, she wrote a book that made a lot of people in the United States start to think about how they're impacting the environment. Who was this person? Was it Rachel Carson, option A? Was it B, Michelle Obama? Was it C, Ellen Ocha? What are we thinking? Take some time, think about the answers, guess if you have to. I see someone in the chat is saying that they've done a little research on this person. Ooh, so we have some insider knowledge here. Ooh, and Jennifer's saying that they learned about Ellen Ocha in their class recently. That's fantastic. Okay. Looks like we got a lot of votes coming in, so we'll go ahead and give you 5 more seconds. We'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We'll close the poll and reveal the answer. So the answer is A, Rachel Carson. So like I said, Rachel Carson wrote a book called Silent Spring, which brought attention to a lot of environmental pollution, specifically for a pesticide called DDT. And this was a pesticide that was being excessively sprayed everywhere. And this poisonous pesticide was washing into waterways, and it moved along the food chain and threatened delicate ecosystems, especially for birds and fish and ultimately humans. So she saved a lot of different species with the work that she did. So yeah, if you guessed A, you guessed correctly. Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and move right along here. So now that we've talked a little bit about some influential women of history in STEM, I want to go ahead and move along and talk about some women that we have here at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County who participates in STEM, because we have a lot of really cool women here working in this field. So while we're watching this video, feel free to take notes on what you're seeing. You could take notes about what surprised you, if you knew this job existed, and maybe even start to brainstorm what skills that these women might have that helps them do their job. So without further ado, let's go ahead and meet some women from the Natural History Museum working in STEM.
My name is Molly. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm an animal biologist and an educator here at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles. One of the research projects that I'm getting to help out with is looking to see if freshwater turtles that live near us in these urban environments are eating pollution like plastics. That means that I get to open up the turtle specimens here at the museum and look at the contents of their digestive tracts under a microscope. That might sound kind of gross, but for me, it's like a tiny treasure hunt. Who knows what I'll find? Maybe a piece of littered plastic straw, or a discarded mask, or a party balloon that got away. My best advice I like to give is to go ahead and reach out to someone who's doing something that you're interested in doing. Someone once told me that everyone is only an email away, and I really, that's especially true for scientists. I really took that to heart, and reaching out, emailing researchers is how I've gotten to participate in projects involving horses, elephants, rhinos, even wolves, and now turtles. It might sound cheesy, but my favorite animal to work with is people. That's why most of my time here at the museum is spent talking mostly about animals to people like you. In doing so, I hope to inspire others to engage in science, make learning fun, and change the world for the better.
My name is Donna Pungfree Chawat. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the exhibition design supervisor here at the Natural History Museum. I'm currently working on our upcoming exhibition entitled LA Underwater, and it's about how LA used to be underwater. I'm extremely proud of all the hard work and innovation that our team has put into this exhibition, and I can't wait for the public to see it once it opens. If I could tell you one thing about my job, it's that I think it's the perfect combination between technical engineering and artistic expression. So if you're one of those students out there who loves science and also loves art, and has been feeling like you might have to pick between the two, I'm here to tell you that you don't, and that there are careers out there that will let you use both of your passions. So your scientific skills and your artistic skills are not at odds with each other. They actually work together to make you a more creative individual overall. So best of luck to you out there.
Laura Tewksbury. I go by pronouns she, her, and I'm a senior fossil preparator here at the Brea Tar Pits and Museum. One of the things I'm working on today is organizing this sediment from one of our fossil deposits here, and all of this sediment is full of plants and poop of a little pack rat that we have a midden of in box 1 of Project 23. And so every little tiny speck of this I'm going through with a paintbrush. And so it takes a little while, but it gives us a better understanding of what these animals were doing. I have a pretty little printout right here. So these are what these cute little small friends look like. This is what their houses look like. And this is what their poops look like. And again, it's very important for us to understand not just the mammoths and the saber-toothed cats at our site, but also all the small fossils and the plants as well. because when we're looking at leaves and branchlets, we can understand the plants that we're living here alongside all of the other big animals. And plants are actually better for us to understand climate change through time in a particular place. And my introduction to science was actually my grandparents that helped raise me. My grandmother was actually a computer science engineer back when that was pretty rare for a woman. And if you've ever used something called GPS, you're welcome. She helped with the forebears of that process. And my grandfather is another inspiration for me. Once he retired from the Air Force, he became an archaeologist, and he got me interested in telling stories. And that's kind of what I get to do here. I get to still tell stories for these things that aren't around anymore. And my advice for the youth out there are find something that you are good at, that you love doing, then find someone to pay you to do it. It may seem naive, but it's worked well for me so far, so that's my advice. And my last piece of advice for everyone is that science is a tool, and everyone can use it. Thank you so much.
Wow, those are some really cool jobs. So we just heard from an animal biologist and educator. So when we're talking about an animal biologist, like Molly mentioned, this is somebody who studies animals and their behavior and what their role is in the natural habitat. We got to meet an exhibition designer, Donna, and this is somebody who's in charge of designing and planning and creating museum exhibits. So if you really like art and museums and science, that's a job that really helps connect all of those interests. And then finally, we saw a paleontological fossil preparator. That one's a bit of a mouthful, but that's somebody who works to clean and identify and fix and care for and study fossil specimens. So we have a few more scientists who wanted to share what they're doing at the museum with you all. So we're going to go ahead and hear from a few more women at NHM.
My name is Rocio Santoyo. I go by the pronouns of she and her, and I am a program manager in the Public Programs Department at Natural History Museum. Right now, I am working on our Bug Fair program, which will happen in May, and I'm really excited for this program to be taking place. It's been a couple of years since we've hosted it on site, and I guess the program that I'm most proud of is our Dino Fest. That was our first returning program to the museum, and it was just such a wonderful event to be able to welcome people to enjoy dinosaurs. My greatest advice to someone thinking about a career in science is to stay curious. Curiosity is something that you can keep with you at all ages, and no question is ever too big or too small. Never feel like you cannot ask your questions. I think what I want people to know most about what I do as a program manager is that programs are a great way for people to get up close and personal with our research and collections and really get inspired to see these things up close. And again, that brings out that curiosity and makes people want to continue learning more. And I think that's the reason why I love what I do here.
Hi friends, my name is Emily Baker. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a museum educator at the Brea Tar Pits and Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. It's my job to learn all about the nitty-gritty, tiny details of the science we do here so I can explain it to you in a way that's super easy to understand. If I told you that scientific examination of the pitted-dentation of Pleistocene Arctodicimus revealed a more diverse omnivorous diet than previously hypothesized, that's a lot of big words to untangle, isn't it? It's easier to tell you, we thought Ice Age bears ate only meat, but finding cavities in their teeth told us they ate meat and sweet berries too. My job makes learning easier and more fun for you. But friends, I want to share a secret with you. Even if you think you're not good at science, science is everywhere. And if you keep asking questions about the world around you, you're already doing science. When I was your age, I loved Girl Scouts and being outside in nature, but I also loved art and art history. And I went to college for art history. But the skills I learned there, like looking closely at details and understanding how objects can teach us about our past, are all skills that are used in science too. And that's how I have this job today. So keep asking questions, friends, and I can't wait to see how you change the world someday.
Friends, and I am a theatrical technician here at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. I work with the Performing Arts Department, and we put on puppet shows, and we also do workshops and events. In fact, I'm sitting next to one of our stars. This is Dakota. Dakota is our Triceratops suit puppet, originally built by a company called Earth in Australia. They do beautiful work. So a puppeteer actually climbs inside this dinosaur and makes it come alive. So what I do is I build props and sets and puppets, and I also fix puppets. My background is in the arts, although I have a great deal of interest in science and in nature. So one of the coolest parts about my job is I get to have a conversation with paleontologists and scientists about what these extinct creatures might have looked like and sounded like and moved like. And then I get to put my art skills to use in making that vision into an art piece. So in fact, we just did a restoration on Dakota here and discovered that the puppet had 4 toes and the front feet, and in reality, a Triceratops actually has 5 toes. So when we rebuilt the feet, I can show you, we actually added a 5th toe right here when we rebuilt the foot pad, which gets a lot of use. So yeah, I really think it's that symbiotic relationship between artists and scientists helping each other and collaborating that really can create a unique and special experience, and that I get a lot of fulfillment out of my job as well. It's an educational experience that's, I think, exciting and fun for everyone. So come and visit us and meet Dakota sometime.
Wow, so many more cool jobs. So a little briefing on who we just heard from now. We heard from Rocio, who was a public programs manager. So a public programs manager is somebody who plans and puts events and special opportunities on for the public to engage with the museum. So Rocio works not only with the science and the collections that we have at the museum, but she also works with all of us in the community and sharing that with everybody. We heard from Emily, who was a museum educator. So this is someone who works in an informal education space who shares knowledge about the museum's mission, collections, and research with the public. So main job there is just talking to people and explaining science to people in a way that's fun and exciting to hear. And then finally, we heard from another Emily, who is a theatrical technician. And this is somebody who helps build sets and props and costumes for theater performances. So Emily is mainly an artist, right? But she works in the field of STEM. She collaborates with different scientists to help build these pieces that are going to help in turn teach and entertain everybody. And she's making sure that these pieces that are used for teaching and entertaining are scientifically correct. So tons of different women from tons of different backgrounds, tons of different knowledge levels that all make up this really diverse field of STEM. So now we're going to talk about maybe some skills that we use every single day that are science skills. So like I said, we just had the chance to meet a bunch of women from the museum working in the field of STEM. And whether they were researchers in a lab or artists utilizing their talents to help with education, these women all play an important role in the diverse field of STEM. And chances are, while everybody in this webinar might not be a researcher with a PhD, we still are using a lot of the same skills that these scientists are using every day. So I have here on the screen some examples of skills that I personally use pretty much every single day that are all science skills. So I do observations, right? So when I get up in the morning, I'm checking the weather, I'm opening my window, I'm seeing if it's raining and I need a rain jacket and an umbrella, or if it's warm out and I'm going to wear a t-shirt. So that's making observations. I do measuring all the time. When I'm cooking or baking, right? I'm measuring out how much flour is going to go into my pancakes in the morning. I'm constantly asking questions, whether I'm asking where the bathroom is, or I'm asking one of my coworkers about a book that they're reading, right? I'm asking questions and staying curious. And then also communication. So just talking with friends and family, telling them about things that I've learned, things that I've saw, and kind of sharing that information. That's a science skill. So I wanted to ask all of you to think for a moment about what skills you use every day that are science skills. Do you make observations? Do you communicate with people? Do you ask questions? Go ahead and share in the chat if there's any skills that you use every day that you think would be helpful if you were a scientist. Okay, so I see Austin and Sylvia are saying that they do math, right? So in school, they're learning skills that can possibly be used for a future STEM career. I see somebody says art, right? So we saw how art can be really helpful and is super necessary in the field of STEM. Lorenzo saying that they communicate with people, right? So just talking and sharing ideas, that's a STEM skill, absolutely. Nathan uses art every single day. That's fantastic. Troy also is a great communicator. I see that someone says think time, right? So just thinking and pondering and staying curious is a STEM skill. Angel uses science and technology. Samuel loves to read. I see someone says engineering, right? So asking questions, communicating. A lot of people are just saying science. Yes, maybe we're just actually doing science, whether that's in school or we're doing experience events on our own time, right? I see someone says baking, and lots of artists, lots of asking questions. Yeah, fantastic. Jonathan says small stuff, right? So we heard our fossil preparator that we were talking about, how she looks at the really small stuff, right? And you have to use really close observations to do that. Okay, thank you all for sharing these wonderful skills. Now I want to think about how we can take these skills that we use every single day, and how can we use these skills to contribute to active science that's happening right now? So one way that I love to do it is with a nature journal. So taking notes of critters that we see, taking notes of what the weather was like on a specific day, taking notes on where you're seeing critters. This is all information that can be super valuable for research. So that's a really great practice to do. Another thing I like to do is participate in community science projects. So we're going to talk about in just a moment a specific community science project that we can help out with. But a community science project is basically a community. So for our community, we can be talking about Los Angeles, who is all working together to provide information for a specific science project. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. We could have a sit spot, which is a place that you visit every single day and make observations at. So for me, maybe my sit spot is my windowsill, and I visit this windowsill every day and I take notes of what I'm seeing. You can start to see changes that are happening in the environment around you, and that's a really great way to participate in some science skills. Sharing things that you learn with family and friends. So we talked about communication and how that is a big part of science, right? It's super collaborative. The next thing that we have is using apps such as iNaturalist or eBird, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that with our community science project that we're about to do. But basically, this is an app that helps you communicate with other folks in your area about what you're seeing in the nature around you. So moving right along here, we have the 2022 City Nature Challenge. So we're going to go ahead and drop in the chat a link to our community science page on our website that breaks down what this challenge is a little bit more in depth. So if you are interested in participating in community science, you can click that link and see how to sign up, or to see how to participate. You don't even need to sign up. But basically you need a device that you can download an app called iNaturalist on. And City Nature Challenge is all about documenting the nature of where people live, especially in urban areas like Los Angeles. So basically what you do with this is you find wildlife anywhere in LA County. So whether that's a spider walking on the sidewalk or you see a coyote on a trail, you go ahead and take a picture of that, right? It could also be plants, it could be a worm, whatever you're seeing around you. And then you upload it to the iNaturalist app. And then you get to also see what other people are posting, right? So you can see the other nature that people are posting. And this really helps scientists get a really good idea of what sort of wildlife is in this specific area. So that is a wonderful way to kind of get involved in a real science project that's happening right now. All right, folks, we are coming up to that time. I wanted to go ahead and close out. We heard Laura talk earlier. Laura was our fossil preparator, and Laura said that science is a tool and absolutely everyone can use it, right? So all of us are already using science skills every day, and we can take those skills and use them. And then finally, if you did want to keep up with what we're doing here at the La Brea Tar Pits and Museum, you could follow us on social media. We have our Instagram handle there at the La Brea Tar Pits. And then of course, this YouTube live stream is going to be on our YouTube channel as well. So if you want to go back and watch this video and see the women that we talked with today again, you can find the video there. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us. And thank you so much to Noelle and Agnes and Rachel for helping out today. We loved having you here, and have a great rest of your day, friends. Goodbye.